Could Florida State leaving the ACC be the first shoe to drop, or maybe it's the next shoe to drop, however you want to look at it? But could it be the next shoe to drop in college football moving to a super conference model? Pull up a chair, sit back, relax, because we're going to talk about just that right after this word from my sponsor. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time. With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for. Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you. What is up, college sports fans, Big 12 fans, and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Belly yourself up to that bar and let me pour you out this shot of top shelf college football content. On tap in today's episode, we're once again talking about conference realignment. And this is kind of third video and kind of a three-part series I've done here regarding an article that was in the News and Observer newspaper, which is a newspaper out of North Carolina. There were a lot of interesting tidbits of information in that article, and I was able to separate those out and make separate individual videos out of it. I will put a link to my last video, the second part of it, which is related to Florida State, in as a pinned comment in the comment section here. And I will leave part one at the end of the video. I'll leave a link to it at the end when the video's over. Now, for those of you who may not have seen the first two videos, I'll give you the quick foundation of where this all started. There was the article in the News and Observer was written talking about NC State's change of heart. You remember at first, in early August, when the talk started about ACC expansion, NC State was not on board adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU. By the time September 1st rolled around and they actually held a vote, they voted to let them in. They broke ranks with North Carolina, Clemson, and UNC and voted them in, so the expansion became official. Now, that article kind of takes you through the timeline of all the events happening, a lot of detailed behind the scenes. But what I want to focus on here is a comment made by Ben Sutton, who's a prominent Wake Forest alum with a lot of connections throughout college sports. His company, ISP, sold to what's now IMG. Most of you have heard of IMG College or IMG Sports. He sold his company to them. He's friends with conference commissioners, ADs, school presidents, you name it. He runs in those circles. But he basically sent a long text message to the NC State board chair asking them to let those schools in the conference and expand in order to save the ACC. But some of the things he said about the future of college football really stood out to me. And one of the things he said is this. In the long term, Sutton envisioned a time after the Big 12's television rights deal expires in 6 years when the ACC could target TCU and West Virginia. And I actually talk about that in video one of the series. Do that, his message went, and it ensures the ACC exists until such time as a top-down solution comes in college football. And he says it surely will in the next 3 to 10 years, whereby the top 24 to 36 teams form their own alliance and everyone else scrambles to develop the next level. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that Ben Sutton, the prominent Wake Forest alum, thinks that college football is going to a system like the NFL where you have 24 to 36 teams basically breaking away from everyone else and forming their own league or their own alliance, whatever you want to call it. Has that not been what a lot of people have been talking about for the past several months or even past couple of years? Ever since Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving the Big 12, then USC and UCLA followed, leaving the pack for the Big 10. We started hearing the talk and the scuttlebutt about the SEC and Big 10 possibly becoming super leagues. We've even heard that maybe those leagues break up and some of the bigger brands spin off and they all go together and form their own league. All that talk's been out there. There's been nothing concrete yet, but there's been some pretty well-connected people saying this kind of thing, folks. Even Kyle Whittingham, the coach at Utah, has talked about it multiple times, how he thinks there'll be a breakaway with the major brands. Is this not what Ben Sutton's talking about? And let's harken back to some comments that were made by Michael Crow, the president of Arizona State, the day after it was announced they were going to the Big 12, he and his AD held a press conference. It's the same press conference where the AD made the controversial remarks about West Virginia. But Michael Crow in that interview said this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that Florida State was looking to form their own league. That ties in to the talk about Florida State trying to get private equity money potentially to buy their way out of the ACC. And he says they're trying to do that to form their own league. A lot of people thought that was just him misspeaking or maybe exaggerating the situation or other things. Now you've got the comment by Sutton in this same article, which I touched on in video 2 of this series. But Sutton talked about how Florida State is looking to potentially become independent. Not leaving the ACC for the Big Ten or the SEC, but becoming an independent. Folks, this could all be tying in together. Think about this. Now, I know you might think I'm wearing a tinfoil hat here, and maybe I am. But, man, if you look at all the goings-on out there, look at the tea leaves, man. If you have Florida State leave the ACC and go independent, you already have Notre Dame who's an independent, okay? Let's say North Carolina and Clemson do the same thing. Now you've got 4 teams that are independent that could form their own alliance, their own league. What if they go get Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Miami, Texas, Oklahoma, some of these other big brands, USC, to do the same, and they all form this one massive 24 to 36 team super league? This Florida State stuff could be part of that, folks. Could it not? Could it be the next shoe to drop or even the first shoe to drop maybe in that scenario? It's possible. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not predicting it. I'm not reporting it. I'm just tying all the pieces together. Now, I'm going to touch on something a loyal commenter on my channel named Tar Heel. A lot of you may know Tar Heel. He and I have had a lot of disagreements. He's made a lot of comments on my videos, and he used to comment a lot on Golden Blue Dude's videos. Tar Heel's talked multiple times in comments on my channel about how he sees a tier 1 and a tier 2 in the power conference model, where, let's say this Super League does form, where the leftovers would kind of be like a tier 2 power league, right? And they would kind of do their own thing, play each other, maybe even have their own championships. That's just me envisioning that. But Tar Heel has talked about how if you do that, if you have two separate divisions at the power level, why would there be a need for the tier 2 teams, which my team, West Virginia, could end up being in, if you have a tier 2 conference where the TV money is not very good anymore because all of your massive brands have went to this super league? If you have the tier 2, would there still be a desire and a need to have a national conference? Or will it divert back to a more regional model, which, by the way, you've heard some scuttlebutt and some speculation in the media that may eventually happen, that they may divert back to regionality in these conferences. It makes sense, does it not? If you're not making the massive TV money to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, why would you want to spend extra money traveling across the country? And these leagues are going to have to backfill. If the ACC loses Virginia, Florida State, North Carolina, Clemson, Miami, they're going to need to backfill. And if they backfill with a West Virginia, a Cincinnati, and a UCF, would that not make sense? And then at that point, why would it make sense for Stanford and Cal to be in the same league and SMU as the same league as the East Coast teams? They could go to the Big 12 at that point, or join the Mountain West with Washington State, Oregon State, maybe, whatever. These are all, I'm just laying out different scenarios here that could potentially happen if this Super League model occurs. And it could all start, folks, with the Florida State leaving the ACC and forming their own and going independent, or even forming their own league. And like I mentioned in my second video, they could potentially get out of it cheaper than we think if they make a deal with the ACC, meaning Florida State. If they make a deal with the ACC to play X number of conference games a year in football, to get out of their deal cheaper, so they don't have to pay the full buyout, and make it even get out of their granted rights if the networks are somehow made whole in this deal. Think about it. Why is it unreasonable to think that Florida State leaving could be the start of a Super League? I don't think it's far-fetched at all to think that could eventually come down the road in the next 5, 10, 15 years, whatever. But not, either way, all these teams around the country are positioning themselves to try to be, if they can't get into the tier 1, they've got to position themselves to be a higher earning team in the tier 2 and not drop down to a tier 3, which I would consider probably the group of 5 teams at that point. And some of the group of 5 teams may even rise up and enter that tier 2 level. But guys, I want to hear your thoughts on this. This, to me, am I wearing a tinfoil hat here? Am I way off in la la land? Or do you think this is actually something that could happen and that is reasonable? Let me know in the comment section. Am I wacko or am I making some sense here? And guys, don't forget to like the video. Please hit the thumbs up button if you don't mind. If you think this sucks, you can hit the thumbs down button. Please drop the comment below. Please share that with your family and friends. And guys, you can support me financially here as well. Help this channel grow by supporting my channel, by buying merch. I've got my new logo, which you see in the top right corner of your screen. That is now available on sweatshirts, t-shirts, coffee mugs, you name it, beanies, ball caps. I've got it. Also have the other designs to choose from as well. Right now, but up until October 22nd, you get free standard shipping on anything you buy. And October 22nd through the 24th, you get 25% off anything you buy in my merch store. So now's the time to get your merch if you've been putting it off. Take advantage of the sales. If you want to join Kuz's Corner, take advantage of the perks there. Right now, you see my club level members scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Guys, I have a special Discord server for my club level members. I just today, I'm recording this video on October 20th. Just today, I shared some information I got from a source regarding West Virginia football that is pretty big stuff, pretty major stuff that's not really out in the media right now. That's the kind of stuff I'm sharing on this Discord server. When I get information, whether it's rumors, whether it's factual, whatever, I will share it to that Discord server for my club level members. And hey, sometimes we just get in there and have a chat about college football. Whatever it may be, it's only available to club level members. I also shared a couple of days ago, I shared a video early to some of my channel members, and I shared that video with limited ads for a limited amount of time. That's also available to my club level members. And to my pub level members, which is $2.99 a month, you get special shout outs and you do get early access to some videos. And I will also do occasional contests that my channel members can participate in. Guys, there are other ways to support the channel. Look in the description box for that. With that being said, I want to say thank you for tuning into this episode. I hope you have a top shelf day and Q Country Roads.